in Glasgow, COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and at COP28 by organizing local conference of youth, regional conference of youth. Youth movements such as Young Professional Group and Sustainable Outside with Center of Civic Engagement, the Outside Green Club, Students of Kyrgyzstan for Green Economy, Jashal Moon, ILC, Asia Youth and Land Group, and other many young and proactive activists are contributing to the action for climate empowerment. Now, let me provide floor for young professionals. A 10-year Glasgow ACE program was adopted at COP26. During the COP27, adopted a 4-year action plan for Glasgow ACE work program. One of the priority of areas of ACE is education. Climate education is linchpin in our efforts to tackle climate change. With this, I would like to invite first speaker, Samar Kanatov, who is currently country contact point for COP28 and a climate sustainable energy intern at UNDP. Samar will share about national strategy and climate change education. Samar, please, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah, next slide, please. Good morning. Today, I would like to introduce you to the National Climate Change Education Strategy in the Kyrgyz Republic that has been launched in 2021. And we would like to discuss how this strategy on climate education relates to young people and reflects the needs and challenges of youth groups in Kyrgyzstan. The strategy, as I said, has been launched in 2021 in partnership with the UN Climate Change Learning System, UNCC Learn. This strategy is designed as a framework for building institutional and individual capacities for climate resilient development and green economy. Prior to the preparation of the national strategy, there has been carried out an assessment of needs among governmental agencies, NGOs, and educational institutions to see the needs in climate education area, which highlighted that first, primarily governmental offices that directly or indirectly work with climate change and environmental sustainability subjects lack fundamental understanding of the climate change science and the consequences of it. In contrast, public organizations working on climate have higher human capital and carry out various projects in the field. At the same time, they are somehow fragmented and are conditional on donor support. And last, local self-governance bodies, farmers, water and pasture users, local communities lack skills and knowledge for climate adaptation and resilience. Considering these and other needs for enhanced climate education mechanisms, the policy for climate change education has been highly relevant in Kyrgyz Republic. This strategy perfectly aligns with the international agreements that Kyrgyzstan is a part of, and the agreements that require the Kyrgyz Republic to step up in awareness raising and access and increasing access to knowledge about climate change, including UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, Kyoto Protocol, the Sustainability Agenda 2030, and the Sustainable Development Goals and Paris Agreement. The National Strategy on Climate Change Education aims to raise educational capacity on climate change in 3 strategic priorities. The first one is integration of climate change issues into formal and informal education system on all levels. Second, training and professional development of municipal and state employees. Third, awareness raising and increasing public participation. The implementation of the strategy is planned for 3 phases from 2021 to 2030, and these 3 phases are aligned with the NDC preparation and reporting period. The strategy in Kyrgyzstan is already being implemented, and the activities organized so far include a training program for 40 civil and municipal servants through the UNCC Learn e-course platforms, which also incorporated developing practical projects on climate mitigation and adaptation. There has been carried out an analysis of school curriculum. There was a training for developers of standards and curriculum on climate change. A teachers and students guide on climate change was launched in 4 subjects, including chemistry, physics, biology, and geography. And a training for teachers of pedagogical universities was carried out. Moreover, there has been launched an online climate knowledge platform called climatehub.kg. Youth climate dialogues took place in Bishkek in 2021, and different social media campaigns on indices and maps were organized. Now, turning to the youth vision on the strategy, the concept of the National Climate Education Strategy acknowledges that there is a lack of climate knowledge on accessible platforms and in Kyrgyz language for young people, especially in the remote provinces of Kyrgyzstan. In the action plan of the strategy, a youth component is included in the priority number 3, the public awareness raising. This incorporates such plans and activities like youth innovation contests, educational workshops, social media campaigns, debate tournaments. Another key part of the strategy addresses climate activism among young people and envisions hosting climate leadership schools and forums. So these are plans within the strategy framework. And we appreciate, it's great that the strategy recognizes the importance of climate education projects for young people. It recognizes the needs and challenges faced by youth in Kyrgyzstan. However, we believe that the strategy could be better targeted and aimed at young people's context and challenges in the country in the following ways. First, the strategy should better aim at the most marginalized youth groups in the remote provinces of the country. We need to create up-to-date and engaging materials on climate education in Kyrgyz language. The Climate Hub website, the online learning platform, it is mainly organized in the Russian and not finalized in Kyrgyz. So this needs to be addressed and elaborated. There need to be held special trainings for young people not enrolled in formal education or those in religious communities, young people in disaster risk areas, and in the areas affected by conflicts. Second, youth strategies must account for the financial constraints often faced by young people. The financial challenges among youth groups often shape their decisions for career and education aspirations. Taking this into account, there need to be developed special programs on development of green skills and green careers that would also maybe direct the youth entrepreneurship in the climate resilience and green economy development direction. Moreover, climate leadership projects for young people should not only build activism capacity, but also young people's capacity for advocacy. It's about the ability of young people to really understand and be able to voice their strengths, needs, and challenges, and also the needs and challenges of other groups in the country, other vulnerable groups of population, and to advocate for this, to propose solutions, and be able to hold the responsible bodies accountable. Moreover, formal education interventions should recognize the challenge of all young people nowadays to engage with climate now and in the future, regardless of their specialties or their profession. Thus, climate integration in the curriculum should not only target strictly environment-related subjects, the 4 subjects that were initially proposed in the strategy, but should elaborate on all of the subjects. This raises the institutional capacity of various fields in response to climate-oriented development. And finally, youth policies must be gender sensitive and employ special approaches to educating young women and girls who are often burdened with household duties in provinces on skills for climate resilience and adaptation, skills to lead the household and agriculture in vulnerable conditions, skills on meteorological data interpretation, methods of reaction to forecast to protect the crops, and materials like climate adapted or drought resilient seeds or crop varieties as examples. We believe that employing these approaches, the National Climate Education Strategy could be more need sensitive and better targeted at the challenges and the needs of young people. And such policies for youth will have a better effect for developing green skills of young people and build their resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samar. Indeed, the importance of climate education, it cannot be overstated. Now, let's discuss the practical approaches of youth that need to be addressed in such as climate education strategies through the lens of local stories and solutions led by youth. To represent the local solutions under youth leadership in Kyrgyzstan and their needs, I am inviting Ms. Mira Dakshilikova, coordinator of the American University in Central Asia. Mira?
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will share and I will start with storytelling. Actually, the local solutions are becoming the baseline of climate education strategies. Therefore, we have been collecting with our team for several months different case studies. And today we will share with you 3 top case studies on education sphere, which are from different parts of Kyrgyzstan. And also it's just very important. Their stories are different, but the main part is educational strategies on the climate science is very important. So let's start with the first story. In Kyrgyzstan, we have a biggest largest urban forest. And first story case study is about eco park. So in the eco park, we had a huge problem in Central Asia. We had the biggest urban forest, but after independence in 1991, the main problem was there was so many cuttings. Everyone want to build new constructions, people won't get the wood, so that's why we were losing our green spaces in the biggest one of the cities. That's why the main urgent need for this urban forest became very crucial. And for that, this project is part of Frank Association and also American University of Central Asia within Bishkek Hall of who are working together with students. And main part what they are doing is they have faced different challenges. They include initial resistance of local communities. No one wanted really give it up that land because land and especially wood is very needed for people for construction. So they said, why we need it? But climate change is happening and everyone in order to strike with green emissions, we need trees. And in the urban area, when we have biggest pollution, the Bishkek was one of the biggest pollution cities. So that's why it was key to have such green urban forests. Within this project also receives a COP28 certification in Paris, and you can see how youth is really involved. And one of the starters was like also Philippe Beaujeu, who was very active, who really wanted youth be engaged in this. So within this, what we have achieved is estimating carbon sequestration by trees. I think this is very important for youth, and try to apply such case studies in different concepts in different countries. Why? Because by estimating of carbon sequestration, you can understand what kind of trees you can plant it, and what kind of how much it will sink that greenhouse emissions. And you just not planting the trees, but you are doing it more in smart way. Also, since 4 years, within 4 years, this climate education have been part of this community. The students were doing their theses on studying the water resources, studying the biodiversity. They were really doing tree planting. So it included all phases of aspects. And was the sustainability, it's actually a unique example in Bishkek and Central Asia. And the sustainability, it's also needed for the resistance and saving the ecosystem of the whole urban forest. Therefore, moving from the first case in the urban city, we are moving to our regions. In this part, I will tell you the story of a local young social entrepreneur whose name is Kuban Abdubekov. He is actually from Isikul region. We have a biggest lake in Central Asia. It's called Isikul, which is Pearl of Central Asia. And therefore, we have one of the biggest problems is the buckthorn. We have, before we used to have so many buckthorns, which are really essential part of ecosystem, but people were also cutting those buckthorns because they don't wanna, they cannot use it, they cannot sell it. Therefore, this Kuban, you can see him in the picture, he decided, no, I won't find the special species of this sea buckthorn, which could be actually also sold and used for economy as well. Therefore, he found species called Altai sea buckthorn, and he started his project within this area. What was the main challenge is lack of education of local communities. The people who were living in that area, they didn't know the quality and the value of the sea buckthorn. Therefore, it really caused a big loss of biodiversity in that ecosystem. So for now, he just started his project, and he have achieved is reintroduction of new type, and also he started protecting the ecosystem. Let's move to our next story. So as you can see, this is artificial glacier case study. So this case also very interesting because we have our local hero. His name is Bakbergen. He's 28 years old and he lives in Toktogul. So all these 3 stories from different parts of Kyrgyzstan within different ecosystem. Even though Kyrgyzstan is like upper stream country, we have glaciers, we have water resources, but within climate change, it's not efficient. In some areas, we are lacking the water resources, and especially agriculture suffers for the water during the springtime. So what he was also thinking a lot, what can I do for my village? How can I solve the issue of having more water resources for agriculture during the spring? Because they don't have any like glaciers near their area, and the water is really running fast. So he was thinking, if I can do something better for my local community, what it would be. The main problem was like water scarcity during the summer times. And he learned on one of the actually sessions that there is existing the artificial glaciers. They can make those glaciers during the winter, and they can use these artificial glaciers during the summer and spring. So it will be efficient. It's a really great storage of water resources. But what kind of challenges he have faced is, of course, lack of skills for effective irrigation. He needed education in this sphere. And the second part is stereotypes. Like people were stereotyping like how such young person can do such thing. You know, it's just some dreaming. What kind of artificial glacier you're talking about? You know, it's also like stereotype of local people. Therefore, actually, for now, he have constructed already 14 glaciers in south of Kyrgyzstan, and more than 20,000 families have access to water in the summertime. Isn't it great? Yes. So, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mira. Local solutions are capable, adaptable of responding swiftly to changing circumstances by empowering localities to take charge of their environmental future. We pave the way for a more resilient and sustainable planet. Now we can take a couple of questions. If you have any questions, we can close the part of presentation. And now I'm passing the moderation to my colleague Kunduz Adulbekova to moderate panel session.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Dear colleagues, dear attendants of this session, let me first introduce our panelists, who is first Anisa Bibuloeva from Tajikistan, Little Earth. She is the winner of Tereshkevich Award, and she's also like inspiration for us for the use of the Central Asia, because she showed us how the activism can influence climate action in our region. The second speaker, Ayjan Chinabayeva, inspiration also for me because she is the businesswoman, she is the ecologist, she leads a lot of environmental initiatives in Kyrgyzstan, and also inspiring a lot of young women in our country. So today we will discuss like 3 questions. The next slide, please. The first of all, we want to understand from the speakers who presented today how this climate education strategies needs to be developed, because it needs to be inclusive in developing and should engage a lot of criteria, not just formalities, how to teach young people about ecology, about climate, and do kind of sorting of the trash and others. It's not about the climate education, we think. So that's why we are going to discuss how, from the practical approach, when we see this kind of projects, which we have in Kyrgyzstan and in Tajikistan, how it can be reflected in developing the climate education strategies. So first of all, let me give the floor to Ayjan Chinabayeva about her experience, about how these projects needs to reflect the climate education strategies. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be a part of Central Asian Group. And I was doing a cleanup campaign last 10 years in Kyrgyzstan. And I'm glad that we have more colleagues, more volunteers who are involved to all whatever climate change that we're feeling already. And it started from cleaning the lake Issyk in our country. As already mentioned, my colleague from Autsa, that I think what we have to do is only learning by actions, because sitting in our rooms and learning the idea, it will not come to our hearts. So I think the main idea start with the kids in school, kids in universities, to see real problems, as we do with our Academy Public Foundation. We take kids, we go to this landfills, we go show the place where we have ecological catastrophes already happened, so kids see and understand. I think only like this, because we have to admit that the educational system, which is unfortunately not in the best stage now, it's not touching the hearts. I think we can do lots of things connected to using digital platforms, because all kids now on the phones, and we have to have a good approach, find inspirational heroes for them. Like I know in our society we try to find, there is different groups of youngsters who are trying to do their own projects, eco projects. And what with our previous speakers, I wanted to say that it should be in the bigger scales, the eco education and preparation of kids for the climate change, it should be done on a better, bigger level. What else I wanted to say? Kids do involve actively. They like to, take garbage out of mountains. They enjoy it. They feel that one person can change the world, one action can influence. So I think by this simple connecting people on the right platforms, bringing more attention to society, to not only to kids, but to the parents, because kids influence to parents as well and grandparents. So I think if we take active involvement of governmental channels, television, and all instrument of influence, in nearest future, we can see already the impact, as we did with our cleanup campaign, where it was involved together with governmental workers, students of all universities of Kyrgyzstan, plus schools. We had more than 600,000 volunteers cleaning one day in Kyrgyzstan. So I think it's achievement. People have the awareness, they understand the problem, and they know not everything, but they understand that they can influence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayjan. I think one of the most key lessons I learned from this campaign of World Cleanup, it was that when kids are learning that the cleanup are not the key what they are doing, they need to learn how to reduce their trash. Yes, this is what I learned from this campaign. And thank you, Ayjan. Let me now give the floor to Anisa. Anisa will tell about, please tell us about how these strategies really needs to be developed. And as you can heard from the strategy of Kyrgyzstan, what the experience you have in your country. Thanks.
Yeah, well, Kunduz, thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me to the panel. Very happy to support my fellow young activists from Kyrgyzstan. My name is Anisa, I'm from Tajikistan. I'm a project coordinator and youth engagement specialist in environmental NGO Little Earth. And we specialize in climate advocacy and climate education among the youth. And firstly, I will shortly share our experience in climate education, and then I will try to elaborate on what our education systems can do in order to provide very meaningful and good quality of knowledge in climate education. Well, with Little Earth, we pay a lot of attention on increasing the awareness about the climate change and overall environmental issues. Why? Because I think my fellow colleagues will agree that it was mentioned that curriculums, environmental curriculums are not touching our people's hearts, but it's not only about the heart, it's overall. The system is extremely outdated. We're still using the books that were developed in Soviet Union. Many of them are in Russian language, or there are some international materials in English available, but there are no textbooks in national languages. I think for all Central Asian countries, it's a huge issue, including the Tajikistan. So therefore, our organization especially pays a lot of attention on developing education materials, starting from the booklets, leaflets, informational papers, as well as the books. So one of the experience that I had in my university jointly with USAID, we published 3 environmental books, which basically cover environmental issues, including the climate change, carbon footprint, in the local context of Tajikistan. Because yes, understanding the concept of the climate is important, but Central Asia is quite unique. And it's very important to interpret the issue so it will be understandable for the youth in the local context. And therefore, mutually with USAID, we developed 3 books which were approved by the Ministry of Education. And just to give a little bit of context, in Tajikistan, in order to use any book in schools, it needs to be approved and go through all the consolidation of the Ministry of Education and Science. So all of our 3 books went through all the stages of approval and were distributed in up to 2,000 schools among the Tajikistan. And within the Little Earth, what we did, we developed a practicum. So it's like a book on different experiments where youth and teachers, like students and teachers together in an interactive way can actually practice different different energy efficient and natural resource conservation experiments, which basically practically illustrate them that being energy efficient or being eco-friendly is it can save like resources, save their time, and etc. So definitely there is a need for our education system to shift and for a significant reforms to move to first of all developing the textbooks in a national language. Another point is to increase the capacity of the teachers, of course, because who is going to teach in the schools? And of course, these are the teachers, and we don't have any specific like climate classes where students learn about the climate. However, in the beginning stages, what we really understood, because recently we did like a small research on what kind of to what extent the school curriculum covers like environmental topics and the climate change. And what we realized that, for instance, in classes of geography, physics, chemistry, like the basic concepts of the climate change can be explained and can be integrated too in the initial stages. So for instance, like the basic greenhouse effect, the way heat is trapped in atmosphere can be explained during the physics classes, but teachers are not aware enough, are not capable enough to do that actually. Another thing is to use interactive tools for teachers and students, and to move to digitalization, because we live in a digital area. Like it was mentioned, it's not touching the heart. And overall, if you know, like the way we all studied, it's very basic setups. Teacher talking, you are listening. Teacher asking, you are answering. There are very little interaction happening in the school. And therefore, there is like a need also to adapt the strategy that will be interactive and more interesting, more exciting for both students and teachers. And what we do with Little Earth, for instance, thanks to Samar, because I actually found out it from him, but we also implemented the climate fresk, which is an interactive game where we can engage and explain the concept of climate change, like step by step to the students within 3 hours. It's like very interactive. Like students are usually discussing how it works and etc. So it's like really engaging basically. And another game, for instance, that we also practice, that we recently adopted, is Climate Action Net Zero, which is a Korean game, which also concentrated on climate action. So what to do in order to act for climate. And another one that we adopted from our Moldovan colleagues is the game Keep It Cool, which basically places the students in the shoes of policymakers, where they're trying to take action in order to preserve the temperature under 2 degrees. So overall, it's very important to empower learners and teachers, not only for climate education, but also for climate solutions. Because yes, they know, okay, they're aware about the problem, but what's next? And education should also definitely integrate the solutions. And for our Ministry of Education and overall for the government, it's important to understand that we are also here for them, because NGOs, civil society in Central Asia been practicing it for years and years. We are doing it since 1997. there is no need to invent the wheel from the scratch. Knowledge are there, specialists are there, and we are there to help them too. And definitely, while the reforms, civil society can be a very useful tool to integrate, to make the reform more successful, and execute it in an effective manner. And I will stop my speech here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anissa. I think that key recommendations already was announced by Anissa as of summary of our panel discussion, that the climate education strategies needs to be developed in a very inclusive way, that it should engage all the sectors, like from youth, from civil society, and from the projects you are doing, the grid projects, we can see a lot of lessons learned and criteria which should be included in these strategies. So as of the reflection for the strategy developed by Kyrgyzstan, we can say that this criteria needs to be improved in our strategy, because it should engage these experts, as we already heard. So let me summarize it. How we can also influence to these processes as the youth, as the civil society, how we can influence to the development of these education strategies. Yes, we learned about your projects, or how we can now further develop this dialogue with government. What do you think?
I think that, again, from my experience, we in Kyrgyzstan, we have a very open society, and we speak up. And even when it was in the days when municipality was cutting the trees, we had eco activists who were coming and, you know, putting themselves on the trees and, you know, putting the chain over their hands, just, you know, to avoid cutting the trees. So the activity of the power which volunteers and human beings, you know, the just civil society can produce with support of lots of people, it's speechless. Yes, what we can do with government. So I think now when we had the stage of misunderstanding, the government didn't listen us, it's already gone. It's thanks to lots of eco activists who are sitting here. Now we're trying to put it in the panels and the platforms where we have eco activists, experts, and representative of government sitting on one table and thinking about strategies. It's slow. It could be bigger and better, but it's slow, but we are there. And second thing that, again, thanks to digitalization, the more eco heroes we have, the more opportunities to speak up. This is the only way how we find out the problems in the region. And what I think we are trying our best, for example, to educate. We have 35 universities involved in our project, where we invite representatives of government to sit. And it should be, as I call, again, civil movements through digital platforms. As again, you know, if we don't highlight the problem, if we are silent about them, we are facing it. If we are for example, in one region, when they have these glaciers, the local community is stopping, you know, they're collecting themselves. They want to stop any production of any kind of goal, or it doesn't matter what kind of finance will be find out through this project. The matter is to keep the glaciers. Yeah? So I think what we are doing, not to give up, push the government, make videos, speak out, get together on platforms and bring attention, and work lots with mass media. Thank you.
Totally agree. Anissa, your opinion?
Yes, I come from the context where it's a bit hard to interact with the government, where we have a bit closer situation. But well, we definitely should engage in a dialogue, provide our recommendations. That's what our NGO do. We often provide the recommendation for policy making. And secondly is to consider us as the main ally, not as someone who, because we are actually fighting for the same, we are striving for the same, is the well-being of our nation, it's more sustainable future for all of us. And accepting that we are actually the ally and we are here for them to support, to share our knowledge. It might be just the main solution for us, in our context. And yes, indeed, I think thanks for the activism in Central Asia, to mass media, to social media, throughout 5 years, throughout 8 years of my career, I can definitely say we see significant changes. More and more people are talking about that. More materials are available on that topic, but this is just the beginning. There is so much more to do, and we definitely need to keep working on that. But our government should also take it seriously and conduct a significant reforms in order to achieve a successful outcome, because it really should be done from the top levels.
Thank you very much, dear panelists. So let's summarize it. We think that this dialogue is needed, and we need to do all our efforts to influence these processes, to adopt the education strategies, which are not just the papers, but the real working documents and actions which we need to take to fight with the climate change. Thank you very much. And now we have the last part of our session, which is art session. We wanted to make you give the pledges or wishes you want for creating the sustainable future. So please, if you have any climate wishes, you can take these colors and leave your footprint. Fingerprints.
But before the art session, I would like to invite all speakers to take a picture together, and then we are everyone invited to make an input to our art session. Actually, in our stand, we have a tree, and I think that it depends on you how our future will be. So please make sure that you're using all colors. You can draw flowers or leaf and whatever you want. So yeah, please, speakers, let's take a photo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Panelists and speakers. And you also, please, have the floor to the board.
Please join to have our photo as well.